Okay. All right. So on Tuesday, we started talking about different types of data. We talked about dates, and we started talking about text. And in text, we said that we have two families or two categories of functions we use to manage text. One of them is to concatenate text together, so put text with each other, and we had some examples using the concatenate function. The other family of functions is used to split text into parts or into its components. Okay, so in order for you to understand how these functions work and how to when you use them, how they operate, I want to start by showing you how these functions work conceptually without Excel, and then we will go and talk about Excel, right? So last time we spoke about this example. Okay. I love USA. I bigger. Okay, so this is a sentence that's called I love USA. I, comma, love space USA. Okay. And let's see how this is represented in computer memory. This is how this is represented in any computer language that you will ever use in your life. This is called text, or also called string in programming language. Okay, it's called string, and you will get used to the word string often in the second part of this course. So I will be using string and text interchangeably, right? So we have this sentence, I love USA, and how is it represented in the computer? The computer memory is divided into compartments or cells or whatever you want to call them. Okay. So let's assume that there is one cell to each character, right? So when you enter some values in Excel or in any programming language, this is how it's seen by the program. It's seen as characters, okay, as an array or sequence of characters. So the I is in the first location or first cell, then the comma, okay, then the L, then the O, then V, then E, then we have a space, okay, and then U, S, A, right? So this is how it's represented, how characters or how text or strings are represented in Excel. We have locations. Each character location depends on its location in the sentence. So I is the first character of the sentence, so it's in location number 1. The comma is character number 2, location number 2, and so on and so forth. And at the very end of the text, very end of the sentence, we have a character that you do not see with your own eyes. It's called let's call it end of line, for example. Okay, this is an end of line character. Okay, end of line character. Okay, this end of line is implicit. You don't see it, but it's there. Whenever you write a sentence, Excel automatically puts this at the end of the sentence to mark the end of this text, to separate this text from the next text, and so on. Okay, so let's assume this character is there and there is no number associated with it. It's just a stamp saying that this text is done. There is nothing after this text. Okay, this is the last letter or last character in our text, right? So again, as humans, how do we separate this sentence into its words? We look at delimiters or separators in the sentence. So you look here and find that between the I and L there is a comma. So the I must be a character on its own, and then whatever is coming after that is separated, right? So we put the I is one word, and then you look at the other separator delimiter, which is the space, and you say, okay, the characters between the comma and the space is another word, it's love. So you put love is a second word, and then you look at the characters from the space to the end of the sentence, and you say, okay, this is the third word, right? So we use delimiters, or we use spaces, or we use separators as human beings in order to separate the sentence into words, in order to be able to read the sentence correctly. So computer scientists try to simulate this, try to find a way to help computers do exactly this. Use delimiters or use separators to divide the sentence into words or into its components, whatever these components are. Okay, so what are the functions in Excel that allow us to separate the sentence into columns or into words? We have a set of functions that search, okay, and then we have left, and we have, sorry, len first, search, and then we have left, we have right, and we have mid. Okay, so these are the set of functions, and you can see there are lots of functions there. Okay, because as I said last week, last class, text is very complex because it is unstructured. So we need to find different ways to manage this text, to work with this text. Okay, so these are the set of functions used to separate text into its components, right? How these functions work in general, I want you to keep these concepts in your minds while we are using them. How we use these functions, how these functions work is, these functions are used to look for separators. Separators include the commas, spaces, semicolons, question marks, whatever. And they are also used to find the location of this end of line character. Okay. So by finding these locations, okay, using the first two functions, len and search, the other three functions are used to cut the text at these separators. So the left function will get you everything before a separator. The right will give you everything after a separator. The mid will give you something between inside separators, okay, or delimiters. Okay, so let's see an example for this, right? The first function is the len function. The len function gives you total length of the string or text, okay? It gives you the total length of the string, or in other words, it gives you the location of end of line character, okay? Right? So the len will give you the location of the last character here, right? So if we apply len on I love USA, so equal len function takes the text you want to cut, and that's it. So if len, and then I will press I love USA, right? And we have 10, okay? 10 is the location, the total length of the string, or the location of the end of line. So if you want to get where to stop, where does your text stop, this is the function we use, okay? Right. The function search is used to identify the locations of the separators, or the location of the delimiters, or location of anything inside the sentence, actually, okay? So you can use search in order to find the location, the delimiter, character, or substring inside the text, the start location. Okay, So search finds the start location of the delimiter. So if you want to search for the location of this comma, you can find it using search. If you want to find the location of the space, you can do it using search as well. Okay. So again, how is this written? It's written like this: equals search. Okay. Search takes 3 parameters. One of them is optional, and sometimes we use it. Okay, but not usually. Search takes the first parameter, and be careful, guys. The first parameter of the search is the text we are looking for. Okay, what are you looking for? So if we are looking for, let's say we are looking for the comma here. So I will put a comma in double quotations. Okay, I'm searching for the comma, and I'm searching for it inside the I love USA. Okay, comma. And then the third parameter is where are you going to start searching for this text? Are you going to start from the very beginning or from somewhere inside your text? Okay, I want to start searching for this comma from the very beginning of my sentence. So I will put 1 here. Okay, and as you can see, it gave me 2. So 2 is indeed the location of this comma, right? So 2 is the location of the comma. Let's do it one more time for the space. Okay, so again, if I want to find the space, I will use the search function. I'm looking for a space, so I will put the space in double quotations, comma. And then I'm searching the text I love USA, so I will select I love USA, comma, 1. And this gives me the location of the space. You can see space is in location 7, and I have 7 right here. Let's even do something more. Let's find the location of the USA. Okay, so this is location of space. This is location USA. So equal search. Open double quotations, USA. We are looking for USA, comma, and then select the whole sentence and 1. And as you can see, USA starts at character number 8. The U is at location number 8. Okay. All right. Before I go any deeper, does anyone have any questions about the concept or the 2 functions that we started with?
Yeah, I do.
Yes. I do too. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So for the search function, I know we said if we want to start from the beginning that we would do 1, but if we want to do it from the end, would we have to do the lens function first and then do search?
No, you can. Search goes from left to right. You cannot do a search from right to left. Okay, so search, let's say that, okay, I will show you some cases where search does not use the 1 at the end. I will show you a case where we don't use 1 at the end. I will write after you are done with that part. But no, search, it does not work from the right. You cannot search from something to the left of a character. You have to look from the left always. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, what's your question?
Oh, I was just going to ask if you could go over the search just one more time.
Okay, no problem. So again, let's do the search for the space. Okay, equal search, and I will do another more complicated example once we are done with this. But I want you guys to get the basics first, then we build on the basics, right? So the search function takes 3 parameters. One of them, the last one, is optional, but let's use it to avoid confusion. So search, the first parameter of the search is what you are looking for. What is the substring or what is the character you are searching for? To get the location of the space, we are searching for the space. So I'll insert a space right here. And then what text are you searching? Where are you looking for the space in? I'm looking for the space in I love USA. So I will click I love USA, comma. And then where are you going to start your search? You can start your search from the first character. So I can start from the very beginning of the text, or I can start searching from any location, right? Usually it's 1, usually. So I will put 1, and it will give you the location you are looking for. Okay, did that help?
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
One more question.
Sure.
If we were to look, like, say there was two O's in this word, how would you differentiate those two O's?
That's a wonderful question. I will show you this example. Once we are done with this simple example, this is what I will do right after that.
Okay, thank you.
Promise. Okay. Right. So next step is, now we have the locations of our delimiters or our separators and the location of the end of line. Now we want to grab the words, right? So the first word is before the comma. So the first word I is before the comma. So we want to tell Excel to grab whatever is left of the comma and use it as a word, right? So we use the left function, right? So the left function role is it grabs or captures characters from the beginning of the string. Okay, right? So the left function, what it does is it captures the characters, it gets the characters left of starting from the left of the string. Okay, so let's see how we do this, right? So let's say we want to grab the first word in the sentence, which is the I that comes before the comma. So to do that, I will use the left function. So the left, and the left has one small tricky part. Okay, the left function takes two parameters. The first one is the actual text that we will search or we grab the text from. So I will select my text, comma, and then it does not take the location of the comma. It takes how many characters we want to capture, how many characters we want to capture. How do we find out that? Okay. All right. So here we have the location of the comma. The location of the comma is at character number 2, right? This is the location of the comma. So how many characters is at location number 2 in the sentence, right? So how many characters exist before it? How many locations exist before 2? 1, right? Before 2, we only have one location, which is 1. So we are only capturing one character. How do you present it in the left function? We already have the location of the comma, so I will click the location of the comma, and I want to tell the left function to capture all text before the comma. So I want to get all the locations before the location of the comma. So I will subtract 1 from the location of the comma. Again, because this is getting the number of characters is the trickiest part in working with text. So I want you guys to pay very close attention to this. Okay. Now I want you again to watch the numbers we have here. This is the sentence that we have. And we have the comma at location number 2, like we have here in G10, right? Right. So the first word comes before the comma. Okay. So all the characters of the first word come before the comma, right? This is the location of the comma. The location of the comma is at location 2. So all the characters of the first word end before the comma. So all the characters end at location number 1, right? So when you are using the left function before a delimiter, like the comma in this case, it is always the location of the delimiter minus 1, okay? Because we want to grab all the characters up till one location before the delimiter, okay? So I have the I. Okay. Do you guys understand why I did the minus 1? I hope so. All right. So now let's do the right function to get the characters to the right of the space. So I want to get all the characters after the space. Okay. I want to get the USA. Let's see. So we use the right function. So the right function captures characters from the end of the string. Okay, so this time if we want to get the characters on the right at the end of the string, the right of the string, we use the right function. So the left from the beginning, right from the end, which makes sense, right? So let's see how it's done. Okay, so again, equal right. Okay, and then our first parameter is the text we are searching. So I love USA, comma. And then we have the number of characters. Now, this is a problem. How do I get the number of characters between the space and the end of line? How do I get these characters? How do I get them? Nothing here tells me the number of characters. We have, this is the location of the space, and this is the location of the end of line. So how would I tell the number of characters here? Very simple. When you are using the right function, all you have to do is to subtract the location of the space from the location of the end of line. So subtract 7 from 10 will give you the number of characters at the end of your sentence. Okay, that's this, it's that simple. So I will click the len that we have, the 10 minus the location of the space, and this will give me USA. Okay. Right. So again, in order for you to understand where these numbers came from, you need to look at the locations and characters in the sentence itself. I want to get USA, right? And therefore I need to subtract 7 from 10, the location of the space from the location of the end of the line. Okay. All right. Now, the most complex one of them is the mid function. The mid function gets you text or strings from within the text. Okay, so in the middle. So if you want to get the word love, I have to use the mid function. So captures text from the middle of the main. Let's see how it's used. The mid function is a little bit more complicated than the left or right. So again, pay special attention. So equals mid. Okay. And then the first parameter, like left and right, is the text, comma. The second parameter is the start location. Where are we starting from? So love starts right after the comma. Okay, we have the comma at location 2, and L is at location 3, 1 after the comma, right? So I will click on the location of the comma plus 1. Okay, then comma. Okay, and then I want the number of characters. The number of characters are between the space and the comma, right? So we want everything between the space and comma. So again, I will subtract the location of the space. I will subtract from it the location of the comma. Okay, and I will subtract one more. Why I'm subtracting one more? Because I don't want to include the space in my outcome. Okay, so I don't want to include this space, and therefore I inserted this minus 1. Right? And we have love. Right? So these numbers here, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, plus 1, whatever, depends on the structure of the sentence itself. Okay, so don't know it by heart, understand it, please. Right? So again, I will do them again just in case. So the first function is called left. Left captures text from the left or the beginning of the string. Right? It takes 2 parameters. The first one is the text itself, and then how many characters do we want to get? To get the number of characters logically without using Excel, the characters forming the first word end, 1 character before the first separator, right? Whether this is a comma or space or whatever. So it ends at location 1 here, right? The word ends at location number 1. So to get how many characters I want to get, I subtract 1 from the location of the first separator, okay? Right? Now, when I use right, same thing. The first parameter is the text or string I'm trying to, I will be with you in a minute, Dylan. The first parameter is the string I want to get the text from. And then to get the length of the characters, if you look here, okay, the length of the characters is the difference between the last character and the last delimiter. So 10 minus 7 gives you the the length of the last word, okay? And finally, the most difficult one of them is the meet function. It takes 3 parameters this time. The first one is the text. The second one is where are we starting? So here I'm starting right after the comma. So if the comma is at location 2, then I'm starting at location 2 plus 1 or 3. And how many characters am I getting? We need to subtract the delimiters from each other. So 7 minus 2 minus 1 will give you 4 characters. Okay. Yes, Dylan, you have a question? Dylan? All right. Any questions about these guys? Okay, Dylan, what's your question then? Okay, perfect. Any questions, guys? Any questions? All right. Let's do another more complicated example. Okay. So this time let's make it like this. We'll do similar sentence, but a little bit more difficult, right? So I under this one. Okay. So I love Canada, for example. Okay. So this time I love Canada, not the US, right? So now we have 2 spaces. Our separators are 2 spaces, not comma and space. Let's see how this complicates things, right? So again, in order for us to be able to divide this into its components, we have to get the location, sorry, the length of a string. And then we need to get location of first space. And then we need location of second space, right? So we need to get the locations of the first space and the location of the second space before we can divide this into its components, right? So the length is very simple. Again, equals len, and then you click the text and you get how many characters overall are in the text, right? Location of the first space, like we did before, search equals search. And then I'm trying to find a space, so I put space in double quotations, comma. And then the text I'm searching, I love Canada, comma. And then I'm starting from the beginning, so I put 1. Okay. So again, the location of the space is in character number 2. Now, how do I get the location of the second space? If I repeat it again, so if I write equals search space, comma, I love Canada, and then 1, you will find that I have the same location in the first space, right? Because each time the search function works, it will always find the first space. So how do I tell the search function to skip the first space? I do that by starting my search after the first space. So if the first space is at location number 2, I start by searching at location number 2 plus 1, right? So this way, I'm skipping the first space, right? So this time I will get the correct location of the second space. Okay. So the third parameter in the search function is what helps us to differentiate between different the locations of the same character if the same character is repeated in the sentence, right? Okay. So if you want to look for the first space, you start from the beginning. If you want to look for the second space, you start after the first space. If we have another word here and I want to start searching for the last space, okay. I do a search, and then define text is a space, comma, and this is I'm searching here, comma, and then the third parameter is where I will start. I will start after the second space. So I will click the location of the second space and add 1 to it. Okay. So this is going to give me the location of the third space, and so on and so forth, right? So the third parameter in the search function is what controls your ability to search for repeated characters. Okay. Someone had a question about this. I hope this answered your question. Okay.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
No problem. Right. So now let's divide this into its components again. Let's find the first word. The first word is I. So the first word, I don't care what is this first word. The first word is the word before the first space. Okay, so first word. I have the location of the first space, and I want to get all the characters before the first space. This becomes my first word. So equals left. And then I will click the text I'm searching. I love Calendar deeply, comma. The number of characters is the location of the first space minus 1. Okay, this gives me the I. The last word, easy, last word equals right. Okay, again select the text. The number of characters is the difference between the length of the string and the location of the last space, right? So 20 minus 14, and I have deeply right there. Okay, then we can get the second word. Okay, the second word is between the first space and the second space. Okay, so the second word here is between the first and space and second space. So equals, we have to use the mid because we're getting it from the middle of the text. Select my text. I'm starting where? I'm starting right after the first space. So if the first space is at location 2, I start at 3, comma, and then the number of characters is the difference between the two delimiters minus 1. So 7 minus 2 minus 1. We have the second word. If we want the third word, then we use equals mid. Again, the text.
Showing the second one,
Comma.
the second word quick.
Second word, sure.
Sorry.
That's okay. Don't be sorry. That's okay. Right. Let's do it again. So again, the second word, so equals mid. Okay. The text is the first parameter, right? Comma. Right. Now, if you look at this sentence, the second word starts after the first space. So this is the first space, and the second word starts right after it. Okay. So the start location, where do we start capturing the text for the first word? Right after the first space. Okay. So this is the location of the first space, and by adding +1, this is after the first space, right? Comma. And then to get the number of characters, the number of characters is, we get it by subtracting the location of the second space, subtract from it the location of the first space. So this is going to give you whatever is in between. So this is the location of the second space, subtract from it the location of the first space, And to avoid having an additional space, I will put -1. And that's it. Okay. Very similarly, the third word. So equal mid. The text is the text, comma. Now the third word, Canada, comes after the second space. So this is the location of the second space. After means +1. Okay. And the number of characters again is the difference between the third and second space -1. So 14 minus 7 minus 1. And we have Canada right there. Okay. I'll give you a minute to try and grasp everything and maybe do it yourselves. And then, yeah.
I'm sorry, can you show me the last word one again?
Of course. The last word is done using the right function, because the right function is what gets you whatever you have at the end of the sentence from capture data from the right. First parameter is the text. And then to get the last word, we usually use the length. Okay, so the difference between the length of the string and the location of the last space. So the third space. So 20 minus 14 will give you that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you show the formula for the third word, please?
Okay, sure.
For some reason, mine's cutting off A for Canada. This is the last A.
It's cutting your last A.
Yeah. We take the start, the full text, I love Canada deeply. And
Yeah.
then the start number is 7, the location, second location space. And then-
No. It's not. Don't when you are working on the exam or here, don't use the explicit numbers. You use the location +1, and there is a +1. You don't start from 7.
Oh, plus
Everything
one.
plus-
Okay. That's what I was missing.
Yes, you are starting after the space, right? The word starts after the space, not at the space, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is
Okay,
why we
I
have
got
the
it now.
+1.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so let's do one practice together, and then we'll go to play around some with the data, right? Okay, so let's use this sentence. Let's say that you are working somewhere, and you are working in a store, and you have some descriptions of the items in your store. So we'll have something like red. Okay. Cubic. Red cubic. Let me think about something easier. I don't want something hard. Okay. Red cubic. Steel. Okay, so let's say that this is a description of one of the items here, and the first word represents the color of your item. The second one represents the shape of your item, and the last one is what your item is made of. Okay, so this is, let's suppose this is something that we have, and what I want you to get me is, I want you to show me the shape of the item. Okay, so how would you extract the shape of the item from this description? Okay, so let me give you a couple of minutes to try it, and then we will go through it together. So always the second word represent. Let me give you a couple of examples. So okay, so yellow, cylindrical, and we have blue, oval, cardboard. Okay. So I want you to get me the shape of the item in these three cases. Okay, so it's always the second word, always the second word. Display the shape in this cell. Okay. So let's have a few minutes for you guys to try it. I'll give you 3-4 minutes, and then we will go through it together. So be careful. The second word is separated. Not there is a comma, space, and then the second word. So not a comma and second word directly. There is a comma, space, and then the second word.
Professor, I got a question.
Go ahead.
So do we need to do, you know, all the locations of all the spaces, or can I just manually count the?
No. You have to get the locations. Manually won't work. Otherwise, the function will change. So if you try to drag this down, then it's not going to work. If you do it manually and drag this down, it's not going to work. Here we have 3 rows only, so it's easy. If you want to compute it, it's easy. But think of an inventory with hundreds of these items. How long it will take you to count for each one of these lines, right?
Right. Okay.
I'll give you 1 more minute, or let's have 2 more minutes. I want to explore, okay? And so I will give you additional couple of minutes. Okay, so let's start working on this together, right? So I want you to give me the shape of the item. The shape of the item is the second word in the sentence, right? The second word in the sentence is constrained by two spaces, a space before it, after the comma, and a space after it, okay? So in order for me to get this word, I need to get the location of the two spaces. So let's do this. So I will, again, location of first space and location of second space. Right. So for to get the location of the first space, it's equal search. I'm looking for a space, so space in double quotations, comma, and then the text I'm searching, comma, and then I'm starting from the first location, so 1. Okay, so the first space is in location 5, and to get the location of the second space, so equals search. Again, I'm looking for a space, comma. I'm searching this text, so I will click the text, comma, and I want to start after the first space, okay? In order to skip the first space, I need to start after the first space. So I will click location of the first space +1. Okay, this will give me the location of the second space. Now I want the word between these two spaces, okay? So again, I need to use the mid function, so equals mid. The text, select my text, comma. I'm starting one character after the first space, right? One character after the first space. So I will click the first space +1, comma. And then the number of characters is the location of the two spaces -1, subtracting the locations from each other and then -1. So the location of the second space minus location of the first space -1. Okay, and I have the shape of the item.
I have a question quick.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the location of the first space technically be the comma after red?
Yes, you can use the comma as well.
Okay.
It will work as well. So if you want to use the comma as the first delimiter, you can do that. But when you are the start location will be 2 characters after the comma. So the first character after the comma is the space and then the C. So you will start 2 locations after the comma. But other than this, you can use the comma because the space is always after the comma. That will work too. Let me show that to you. So if you want, let's say that I want to get the color of the item or item color. Okay. In this case, I want to get red. I want to get the word red, yellow. Let's first pull this down and see if it's going to work for all the lines. Of course it will. Right? So it's working for all the rows, right? Without me having to count anything, right? If I want to get the item color is to the left of the comma that comes before the space, right? So we have a comma, space, and then before that we have the color of this item. So how do I get this? There are 2 ways. Either you get the location of the comma and get everything before it, like we did up, or you think that I already have the space, I already have the location of the first space, so I don't need the comma. So I will do left function, and then the text is this text, and then this time the number of characters is the location of the first space minus 2. Why minus 2? Because there is a comma before the space and then the first word, and this is why I put minus 2. Okay, if I do it minus 1 like this, I will get the comma with me. So if I do minus 2, I will skip this comma. Okay. All right. What if I want to get the material of the item? The material is the last character. So to work with the last character, I need to get the length of the string. So if I want to get the material, I need to get the length of the string first. So I need to get the length first. So equal len. Okay. And then the material will be equal to, right? This is our text. And then the difference between the length of the string minus the location of the second space. This will give us the material of the item. Okay, so they are simple, but you can be confused with the numbers at the end. So make sure you understand the structure of the sentence and think of it logically before you start using Excel. So we are looking for delimiters, and we are capturing text, or we are capturing characters between these delimiters. Okay, so depending on what word you are trying to get, you identify the delimiters of this word and use the left, right, or mid functions to get whatever is between these two delimiters. Okay, so this is the logical operation. This is the logical process behind it. Of course, it needs practice like everything else.